I spent almost a year on and off writing a review of this game, and during that time, I watched a lot of other reviews, critiques, retrospectives, and whatnot on YouTube, and realized that because of the sheer diversity of the videos already at hand, I should just stop writing it and go on with my life. My opinions in some ways were already captured extensively in some of those videos, so ultimately I decided not to make a review. That is, until I realized later on that I still had something to say about this game. So instead of a review, I decided to just show my gratitude, because whether you like it or not, this divisive game is a powerful experience worth experiencing. My cousin had a PS3 and he bought The Last of Us simply because he didn't have anything else to play that summer in 2013 when it was released. And as he played it, he told me that it was caught off guard by being so amazing. And I really didn't expect it, since the both of us weren't necessarily fans of the zombie genre. So I visited him, and as soon as I arrived, he gave me the controller and said, "Play it." So I tried it out, and what happened next was that I, just like my cousin, was blown away by it. I managed to ride the emotional roller coaster and checked the time and saw that almost 7 hours had passed. Instantly, just like that. These moments of true escapism, where I was truly immersed, makes me reminiscent of the late 90s, early 2000s, when I was a kid playing Super Mario 64, Ocarina of Time and Banjo-Kazooie on the N64. And in a way, I couldn't believe that I had stumbled upon that rare, genuine, kid-like excitement and enjoyment in The Last of Us. At the same time, it was kind of heartbreaking, since I knew that I probably wouldn't experience anything similar that would reignite that inner child within me again, for at least years to come, or maybe even ever. This was my first ever story-focused game, which I really resonated with, and I didn't know why. What I knew, however, was that it became one of my favorite games. The minor technical glitches, the stupid AI NPCs, or the other flaws didn't bother me, and still to this day it doesn't really matter to me. All that mattered was its intention, the intention of the developers, in this case, Naughty Dog. And because of this, I became interested in what other amazing Naughty Dog games I've missed out on, and I wasn't disappointed. So when Part 2 eventually was announced in December 2016, I almost fell out of my chair out of childish excitement, wondering about the potential continuation of the story. There are a lot of other games that are overwhelmingly entertaining and awesome, but they're not with me like this one. And what I personally have come to realize is that I think this game is a crowning achievement in storytelling that no medium other than video games is able to explore. It doesn't surprise me at all that it got a lot of hate, and I understand and even agree with some of it, but the risks the game takes in its endeavor to guide the player through its creatively different approach to storytelling, it's kind of mind-blowing. And all of this while being a technical marvel. It was probably one of the most gorgeous games ever made, with an attention to detail not present in your average AAA title.
What do you think of this view, huh? It's pretty nice.
With an AI sophisticated enough to never really disrupt your experience during gameplay, along with a complex world architecture of stellar quality. And don't forget the rock-solid gameplay, that while being one of the smoothest animated and best contextually adaptive one in years, is also really fun to play. And the amazing score that fits and contributes to the game in every aspect, and the brilliant sound design. I think you get my point. All in all, it is a given by now that the technical ambition Naughty Dog puts into their games is super high, and that because of that, we unconsciously associate them with meticulously made games. By the way, hopefully in the future, without involving any crunch culture. The Last of Us Part 2 makes me respect the medium as a whole even more. And furthermore, I truly believe this game will be regarded as a masterpiece in the future despite all the hate it has gotten. And as time goes on, I think it will age very well in its intention, and I believe even the haters will look back at it in a different way. We humans are very emotional creatures, which can result in impulsive and often not well thought out opinions, and in this case, reviews, especially when things get taken out of context, such as the early leaks of the game that caused quite a commotion. I personally believe that another example of this is the reception of Assassin's Creed Unity, where today suddenly everyone seemingly acknowledges it as an amazing game, despite all the hate it received during its release for being an underdeveloped, too ambitious, bland, boring, and glitchy game. Of course, it's a problem if a game doesn't work properly, as it should when it's released. However, I sometimes just think people are too emotional about it, and I say that as a day one buyer of both of these games. The poison sting that was the death of Joel provoked a lot of people, and rightfully so. It's as if the player never got to say goodbye before he was robbed from you in the worst way possible, barely 2 hours into the game. Why did they do that? I mean, come on, we invested so much in him. Despite his seemingly dreadful past with smugglers, fireflies, killing sprees, and even him choosing death of the human race instead of a cure that potentially would save humanity, we still grew to love him. But the sentiment of a story being wrong, because someone just thinks it is hopefully an idea that pure creativity never will subscribe to. That is why we can look at a painting at an exhibition, not understand it, and even hate it, while it is sold for millions of dollars because someone else loved it. Art moves humanity forward through its discoveries when trying to cross the borders of a human mind, which naturally lead to controversies. But instead of inhibiting free thinking because it doesn't coincide with someone else's views, we should always at least analyze and discuss the matter at hand, which in fairness is partially what I think some haters have been trying to do, albeit through a pretty narrow lens. But in the end, art is everything and nothing. It is whatever you make it to be, and to me personally, it hurt me a lot experiencing Joel's death. I felt pain when watching Ellie furiously gasping for breath during his brutal beatings. But as I was watching it, it came to me that this is not my story, nor the story that I wanted, but it is the true story. And this specific story should, instead of being hated for being hurtful, be appreciated for its impeccable ability to convey it. The way that all the different parts are playing together in such harmony when sending us such a painful message is ultimately, in my opinion, beautiful art. Now, criticism is important, and this game has been subjected to a lot of it, even politics, which I find really interesting, because since this game involves some aspects that in theory could be politically charged, it would seem to be that way if you played it from that perspective. However, I think people in general just seem to find it very easy to insert politics in practically everything. They especially tend to get political when they don't agree with what they experience. Not to blame them, people using freedom of speech to voice their opinions is a healthy sign of democracy, which I personally also often find being used as a justification to slander this game, sometimes even calling it propaganda. But if anything, then this game should politically be proof of democracy being alive and thriving, since freedom of creativity and art, like this game, is available for you and me to engage in. Now, screaming rights of haters on Metacritic could of course be an indication of something, or at least it should account for something. Sure, but hate could also be an indication of something else. For sake of comparison, William Shakespeare also had his fair share of haters, although he today is considered one of the, if not the greatest writer in English language. That applies to other influential writers as well, like Tolstoy, Tolkien, and Voltaire. Neil Druckmann and Haley Gross, the writers of The Last of Us Part 2, are in my opinion subjected to the same thing. In other words, even though Part 2 got showered with hate, it received critical acclaim, numerous GOTY awards, and enjoyed remarkable sales. I mean, that should also account for something. An English philosopher I listen to says, "Love like sunshine," which is to just like the way sunlight shines on Earth every single day, despite the deep flaws of humanity, love unconditionally. And even though there are reasons not to, especially in this fictional world of The Last of Us, they manage to convey hope. If only by fraction in the beginning when showing a small society living in peace, in a world of misery, or through personal hardships where your friends stick up to you no matter what.
What do you need? I can go get it.
It was enough to change my perception of the game, as my initial one was that it was about revenge, anger, and violence, when in actuality, it was about love.
No! Ellie, no! Stop! I'm not infected! I'm immune!
In my opinion, a portrayal of love as diverse as reality itself, where it is portrayed through a palette of different emotions. For example, an illustration of the difficult love of forgiveness is where Ellie is not able to forgive Abby for her actions until the very last moment. Now, this does not necessarily mean that Ellie bestows Abby with a benevolent gesture to free her from guilt of her actions, but rather Ellie realizing that she has to let go of the resentment within her that is preventing her from reaching peace. This is an act of love in that she, by forgiving, is letting light inside her where darkness resides and what has repelled everything around her, in order to make her capable of loving again. It's really a sad story, I know, but sadness should also be viewed upon as a teacher, by which we all learn to handle the struggles of life, which in turn helps us to love once again. So on the opposite end of this, an example of a beautiful illustration is the game's portrayal of the love of the family, in this case Joel and Ellie, where they willingly and almost sacrificially sink into unprecedented depths of hell, trying to just be there for each other. So in theory, everything Joel made in his life led him to this exact moment. He wouldn't have had this if it weren't for his love for Ellie. He had to choose between her and everyone else. And this scene encapsulates the reason behind this, in every case, devastating choice perfectly.
Swear to me. Swear to me that everything that you said about the Fireflies is true.
You just come after her. I swear.
Okay.
I would have done the same thing for my daughters. And that is why this is my favorite scene in the game.
Okay. Wow.
Wow.
Did you look at all these buttons?
Oh, it's so badass. Man. Could you imagine just...
Happy birthday, kiddo.
What is this?
This is a thing that took a mighty effort to find. Take it. Close your eyes. It'll be worth it.
Okay.
Seconds and counting. Astronauts reported fuel good. T-minus 25 seconds. 20 seconds and counting. T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence start. 5,
I do okay.
Are you fucking kidding me?
You're welcome, kiddo.
It all comes down to love, and it is both wonderfully and horrifically portrayed in this very special game. I must say, I feel enriched after experiencing it.
Yeah.
And for that powerful experience alone, I would like to say thank you, The Last of Us Part 2. And on that note, thank you for watching. Take care.